Welcome to the studio, and it's a pleasure having you here. And let us first begin by understanding why you're here part of the episode program.
This MSME get together, an annual, was it the World Day for MSMEs, right?
Right.
So, my name is Zalam and I represent UNICEF, and I head up an office in Telangana that covers Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka. UNICEF is very keen to work with MSMEs and industry partners because we believe that young people are a key component of the future. And MSMEs by design, an industry by design, is the bedrock on which we build our economy, our future, how we transform our present life into the future. And as you are very well aware, the government of India has a Viksit Bharat vision, which has been also fully complemented by the Telangana Rising agenda. And we believe that skilling, innovation, and investment in young people and inclusion of young people into that agenda is really important to drive the change that we need to see and the acceleration to the economy that we want for the future that we are looking for.
And so, obviously, there is a lot more to UNICEF than meets the eye, right? But largely, the perspective there with the common public is UNICEF is something for education, and it's only about education. So, what more is there, and what is UNICEF doing in Telangana that we don't
Very
know
good.
about?
So maybe it's time to also think about expanding that understanding. UNICEF is not only about education. In fact, technically, UNICEF is about child rights. It's a child rights agenda. It's a child rights agency, a United Nations agency that has been charged with helping member states and governments to fulfill child rights across board based on the commitments that governments have made. The Convention on the Rights of the Child encompasses many aspects, and the child's right is not only relegated to education, but it also includes even play, to health, to nutrition, to a good life, to shelter, all the components that we think of human rights. But there are some that are peculiar to children because children do not have the agency to be able to speak for themselves. So, organizing systems and supporting governments to be able to empower young people, to engage young people, but also to transform systems to ensure that young people not only survive, but that they thrive and they contribute meaningfully to their societies in the future is a key component. So UNICEF works across multiple sectors. In India, we have a very large presence that's across multiple states. In Telangana, our office covers, as I mentioned earlier, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka. We work with all the three governments across many of these areas that I spoke of in terms of support to healthcare, education, nutrition. We are a knowledge partner, technical support to governments, to civil society organizations, but also encouraging youth and child participation, policy making, decision making, because there is an inherent belief that without children, we can't be programming for children. We need to be hear their voices, their perspectives. In our societies, generally, we do a top-down approach. We provide for people,
Right.
for groups. We believe it's important to listen to to those groups because they have a unique perspective. Sometimes children tell us things that we did not even realize that were important for them, for their development. And development of a child is holistic. It includes water, sanitation, hygiene, access. And within our communities today in Telangana, as you see, we have progressed significantly. Our city, Hyderabad, Telangana as a
Growing
state,
rapidly.
not just growing, but it's way ahead of the curve on many things. But it also comes with challenges, and the challenges of making sure that every child is part of that story.
Well, what is the biggest challenge in Telangana when it comes to UNICEF implementing its programs?
It's a very difficult thing to say the biggest challenges here or there. It is about also making sure that you have an equity lens and communities and children that may not have as full access to develop and grow are also getting it. So not about just children that are in Hyderabad and in Banjara Hills, in Jubilee Hills, but also children who are in Asifabad, in Vikarabad, in places where we may not necessarily have mainstream focus, but all the more important because if we are unable to bring all communities together, our development rates will not be as what we would have hoped for. So ensuring that the rights of every child are met, engaged, respected, but also fulfilled, not just because they're children, although that is also only a good reason on its own, but also makes sense for the society, for the economy, and for governance. In 22 years' time, when we get to visit Bharat, when we get to Telangana Rising 2047 agenda, when we are expecting to build a $3 trillion economy, the people who will be driving that economy are the children who are being born today, the children who are in early childhood development stage today, the ones who are going to school today. Over the next few years, as we head towards the medium term goal of $1 trillion economy by 2034 35, the young people who are in school today need to be able to access the skills that are required, the future skills, the green skills, the innovation, the design thinking that we want to be able to drive the engine of the economy and development. So investing in these areas is extremely important, which is why, as UNICEF, we're also engaged with this process to be able to put the voices and the concerns for young people on the table.
And how many MSMEs are connected with UNICEF? Speaking about Telangana in particular.
Very good. So UNICEF does not connect to individual MSMEs directly. We work through systems. We work through government. So Youth Hub. We work through with the department, with government departments to take a look at skilling and how we're able to empower young people, both at the rural level, but also in urban systems. Programs like Upshift, where under UNICEF's Generation Unlimited agenda, we call them Generation Unlimited. In India, it's translated as YuWaah. Yeah. And then the YuWaah program reaches millions of children across India, but also in Telangana. The Upshift program looks at skilling, green skilling for the future, for engagement, linkages to industry. The Youth Hub that is there under the government of Telangana also is an aggregator that brings in innovation from secondary to tertiary, where innovation is the engine of growth that solves problems of today. We have basic programs like the Passport to Earning that allows young people to think beyond the grades in education and getting a degree or even a certificate, but to think about how their skills could be utilized for useful things outside. So UNICEF does not work with individual MSMEs. We work through a system approach, helping to rethink the approaches for young people and their skilling pathways.
So now we're talking about UNICEF bringing a massive change, right, over a period of time. But I think for the kind of work UNICEF has been doing in Telangana and elsewhere, the change is already in motion. So are there any examples or incidents or children who come to your mind that have already started becoming the dream that UNICEF has?
Absolutely. In fact, there are many examples, especially from Telangana, where young people have already demonstrated how looking at localized problems and coming up with innovative ideas can change and have an impact on the lives of people. There are young people in Telangana who have come up with innovative ways to support, for example, persons with disability, especially with visual impairment, on how to move about within society without having to rely on a traditional stick, etc. There are young people, in fact, there's one young person who has designed a simplified bag, a low-cost bag that helps farmers manage on their farms, that allows them to do their work much faster, without the necessary breakage in terms of their economy, the burden that comes with purchasing materials. So there are very good examples.
And all these children are coming from UNICEF.
UNICEF, as I said, works with government, with systems. Right. There is nothing that UNICEF will do on its own that is separate. Our role is to work with government. So it is government that takes the credit and should have the credit, because it's government that provides the enabling environment and the systems to enable these engagements. The work that we have done with the government of India and also the government of Telangana in secondary education, looking at, for example, innovation through the adult tinkering labs, passage and linking that with the youth hubs, linking that to a skilling platform, and also thinking about actually bridging the gap between industry and MSMEs by extension, and the skill sets and the skilling industry makes a very important pathway for the future. So there is progress. There's a whole lot more that still needs to be done that creates a full ecosystem for young people to be part of the drive for that change.
And just to conclude that, what is UNICEF's plan for Telangana, what does it envision? If you have to summarize it.
That every child in Telangana, regardless of where they live, regardless of their background, their geographic location, their family situation, every child is born alive, healthy, and has the opportunity to grow to their full potential and support the economy in the long term.
How do you achieve it?
Working through a holistic, multi-sectoral approach. We work with multiple departments, providing that technical input. As I mentioned earlier, the government of Telangana, government of India takes the brunt of this credit. This is the government that is fulfilling. The government is a duty bearer for a child, and ensuring those systems are growing and working together, and allowing a child to develop to the maximum potential is where we are. 20, 30 years ago, there would have been significant financial investments from UNICEF, from other agencies. Today, the biggest investment is coming from the government of India, the government of Telangana. Our role is to provide the technical guidance and support as we head into the future, straightening out, making sure that the last child is also part of the growth and the system, rather than relying on previous laurels.
All right. So on a scale of, let's say, 1 to 10 or 0 to 100, where does Telangana stand in UNICEF's implementation version?
In terms of skilling and in terms of engagement with industry, in fact, Telangana is at the forefront. Telangana is way ahead in many ways in uptake of Upshift training program, in the uptake for skilling programs through the Youth Hub platform that exists, in strengthening the adult tinkering labs, creating an environment of innovation that allows young people to come up with solutions for everyday problems, and not just coming up with the solutions, but also having the pathway to connect with industry, with decision makers, in order for those innovations to bear fruit. So Telangana has, I think, much to offer in terms of examples, in terms of the way forward, but also there's still a long way to go for us, which is why we have the vision Telangana Rising 2047, because we want to collectively get somewhere. But I can say Telangana is definitely ahead of the curve, doing great, and is about pulling in resources and making sure that every child, regardless of where they are, is part of that story.
We wish that happens, and we really work for that. So congratulations again on the great work that you're doing, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and what an excellent set of questions you have.